Hello, folks. I'm Stephanie Rollins with Central Texas College Disability Support Services. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Pages that is full of information that can help you with the accommodation process. Here shortly, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to walk through the path to get to the documents and the questions that you may have on receiving accommodations here at Central Texas College. You will be able to ask questions, so follow along with me. Okay, Mariceli. Let's see. Okay, can you folks see my screen? Any thumbs up? I hope. Please let me know if you cannot. So our CTC webpage has so much information on all of our departments. Today, I'm going to show you how to navigate your way through these department pages to the Disability Support Services departmental pages. First, I just want to note what I show every student that comes in our office. This tab up here, Student Tools, very valuable tab because this is where all your logins are. Blackboard, eTrieve, Web Advisor, a quick link to your logins, and a quick link to when you want to fill out electronic forms. Now, to get to our Disability Support Services webpage, you will go right up here to Students, and you'll see this big drop-down box with all kind of resources. We're going to go way over to the left here under Student Resources, down to about the middle of the list here to Disability Support Services. That will bring you to our department pages. On this page, you will find the links and the documents and the criteria you need to apply for accommodations. Now, Disability Support Services, or DSS for short, provides academic accommodations to students with qualifying disabilities under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, disabilities must significantly impact a major life activity. For example, walking, learning, talking, seeing, hearing, reading, etc. But it also provides accommodations for hidden disabilities, students with certain diseases or mental health diagnoses also can receive accommodations through the Disability Support Services Department. Now, this is the important part, and we are going to go over the criteria and where you can find the documents to apply for accommodations. Students are required to submit medical documentation to substantiate a qualifying disability. Documentation must be recent, within the past 3 to 5 years. It cannot be any older than that, folks. Documentation must state the disability, how the disability was diagnosed, how this disability impacts the student in an educational environment. It also needs to provide a list of recommended accommodations based on the diagnosed disability. DSS coordinators will review the medical documentation submitted by students to determine eligibility accommodations. Reasonable accommodations are dependent upon the disability. Now, some of these examples of accommodations, I'm sure you all are familiar with extended test time, everybody's favorite, but also we have alternative textbook, We have sign language interpreters. We have note-taking assistants and assistive technology. So when you come into the Disability Support Services Department, you'll meet with a coordinator and be able to collaborate on all the amazing things available here on campus and virtually. So let's see. We are going to get to the part you're probably interested in, the documentation and the criteria. Now, on the left side of the screen, you'll notice all these resources right here and links to fill out the documentation, such as requesting accommodations. We're going to click on that. You'll get detailed instructions on this page on how to set up services with the Disability Support Service Office. After you complete the registration process, students must, this is where it deviates a bit from high school. If you are new students just out of the high school environment, you must self-identify. Students must self-identify. So you must come to us, contact the Disability Support Services Office, where in high school, often the student did not have to identify. That's the difference here, folks. You need to let us know you're here on campus and let us know that you would like to take advantage of these services. Right here, when you get to the requesting accommodations, there's also links to the pages, such as the DSS student intake form. Now, the intake process, you only have to do that your first time. That's when you supply your medical documentation signed by a licensed professional, and you have registered, and you'll fill out another document on eTrieve. I'm going to go right here, instructions for the DSS e-forms for requesting accommodations. All DSS forms are completed online. So folks, even if you came in to talk to our smiling faces in person, we would direct you to these online forms. The difference is in the office, we can often assist you, but they're the same forms that you'd be filling out at home or on campus. Now, they can all be found here at this link, ctceforms.ctcd.edu. Now, when we click on this, it will take you to eTrieve. This is where you will log in and access the forms that you need to fill out. I'm going to see if I can log in for you on my, let's see, passwords drive us crazy too, folks. We just, all right. So when you put in your student ID or your login information, it's going to bring you to this page, and it looks blank, but it's just waiting for you to tell it what to do. So right here, you have an inbox that will be communication about these forms that you fill out. Activities, when you click on activities, such as here, it'll show the last leave form I filled out. But for you, it may show all the documents that you have filled out electronically. We're going to go to forms right here. Now, it might be overwhelming. You're going to see a lot of forms here that may not make sense, but we're going to bypass that. You are only concerned with forms for students, which usually will start with an ST. So I'm going to scroll slowly so you can get an idea. You're not interested in HR or employee stuff. We're going to bypass all of that until you see ST here. This is student information. Here is disability support services. Folks, these are all the forms that you would need to fill out. During the student intake process, again, Q4, it's your first time. You only fill out that student intake right here the first time you are requesting disability support service accommodations. Now, of course, it has my name in it, and this form will only take you a few minutes to fill out. You can't get any of the answers wrong. It is just asking a little bit about you and your previous experience with any types of accommodations. And when you have finished checking the boxes, and folks, I suggest you really read it, because the student handbook is included in these documents, key information. And at the bottom, when you have filled all that out, you'll have a submit button right here that you can submit that document. The Disability Support Services Department will be able to see that document once you submit it. Also, you'll see an attachment here where you can upload any of your medical documentation that you would like the coordinators to take a look at. Once you have submitted that form, the second form you fill out is the Accommodation Request form. This form is the one that tells us which classes you're going to take, such as your course name, your instructor, the semester, and if it's online or not. You'll hit add and add your next class and your next professor. Now, folks, this document's important because this is how we know who we can send your accommodation forms to, which professors need to be informed that you receive accommodations. I like to say it's the marching orders. So every semester, this is the form you will fill out, because each semester your classes change. This form right here, the Accommodation Request form, it lets our department know that you're returning and who your new professors are that need to have this accommodation information. When you complete this form, again, scroll all the way to the bottom, it is going to allow you to choose which disability support services coordinator you are sending this document to, either Ron Porter or Miss Wilma Brown Smith. Either of those coordinators. If you have spoken to one before, you may want to send it to them. But either of these coordinators will be able to assist you. And once you have selected that and completed this document, again, you'll hit the submit button. If you think you have other supporting documentation that may be of assistance to the coordinators, again, there is an attachment button right here. And, back to this inbox, folks. This inbox and activity box, they should be checked regularly, because often there'll be communication on the documents you filled out or a status update. So check these things regularly. Let's see. We would like to get out of eTrieve. And I want to bring you back to this list. Again, on the left-hand side, this is the links. These are the links that will bring you to the forms you need to fill out. Here's your online accommodation request form. And when you click on that link, it will bring you to eTrieve, where you will log in as we just did. You'll see the student intake, e-form, and housing. That document is for students that will be staying in student housing. So not everybody will be filling out that form. The other forms I would like to bring to your attention, besides the instructions, is the documentation criteria checklist. This one is important. For new students, we receive lots of questions asking if their high school documentation will suffice. Often, the documentation of 504s and IEPs received in the high school setting, while it is good information, the criteria that most colleges request is different. This right here, the instructions, we'll go over that in detail. Let's see. You'll notice it highlighted here, reiterating that that colleges do not follow, write, or utilize IEPs, VA ratings, or treatment progress notes. Don't worry. This documentation criteria checklist here explains what we need. And I briefly touched upon it, such as documentation that must be current, no later than 3 to 5 years old. It must be on letterhead, and it must be signed by a licensed professional. And this is often where the high school documentation and college documentation are incongruent. The key thing to remember, the documentation you bring in for the accommodation process must be signed by licensed professionals. Evaluators must be a licensed professional who is qualified and trained to perform valid testing and diagnosis. The documentation must clearly identify the diagnostic code. You'll notice that it'll probably have letters or numbers. It is a short code that most offices have a little dictionary and should be able to provide that for you. It must clearly identify that specific diagnosis and diagnostic code. The documentation must also contain how the professional came about that diagnosis, what tests or exams were performed or assessments. It also must have a statement in there explaining how this diagnosis impacts you in an educational setting. In addition to what major life activities this diagnosis impacts. Let's see. Again, I reiterate, document must be signed by the evaluator with their respective license number. Let's see, folks. Also, you may have seen some interesting things on this left side that is unfamiliar to you, such as the service animal policy. If you do have a service dog that you are at some point going to bring on campus, you can read that information there and it will list the criteria. Title IX covers any pregnancy type of accommodations that an individual may need to take advantage of. Of course, we have frequently asked questions. And let's see, folks, I'm trying to see. The disability coordinators, their contact information is provided on the web pages. Let's see, Ron Porter and Wilma Brown Smith. Now, folks, you are welcome to contact the disability coordinators directly for accommodation questions and assistance. Let's see. Do we have any questions or something that I didn't cover that you see here, folks, you would like me to touch upon?
Oh. All right. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them into the um, chat text in Facebook, and we will go ahead and ask them to Miss Rollins. But one of the things that was mentioned in the Facebook was registration. Do you guys help with registration in any way?
That's a good question. We do receive a lot of questions about registration and the registration process. We often assist students with questions and guidance, but the registration process itself is through the registrar's office and on WebAdvisor. Um, we are more than happy to assist a student if they are having uh, computer issues or if they need assistive technology to help with that process. We do have that also, such as Zoom text to make things larger. If they have hearing disabilities or visual disabilities, we also can assist with that process. But as a general rule, the registration process usually goes through the traditional online process. Did that help any?
Yes, thank you. The other thing is if I have to change my degree plan, how do I go about doing that?
Certainly, certainly. Again, you are always welcome to ask Disability Support Services these questions when you come in. And if that is not our area that we are able to assist you, we certainly will put you in touch with them. But changing your degree plan, you must go through your advisor. Your advisor will change that degree plan, and then it opens up the other courses that you can register for.
Another question, if I want to participate in an activity and I have a disability that may not allow me um, to participate fully, how how do I contact you guys for assistance?
Absolutely. Contact Disability Support Services either by email or a coordinator directly. And that way we can address the address your disability and accommodations that you might need. We have had students that when we have activities and events on campus, and we have plenty of those, that often they will need assistance navigating the campus. They often let us aware, and we can help with that process. Again, when you communicate with us what the challenges are, then we can assist you as far as do you need a special assistive device that opens all the doors for you so you don't have to get up out of a wheelchair, or so when you speak with us, then we can custom fit the technology and assistance and resources that we have to help you participate in those activities.
Okay, great. Another question here. Would an LPC be considered a qualified provider for documentation purposes?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let me look real quick to make sure that we don't have any other questions. I think those are the questions that we had. So thank you very much, Stephanie, for discussing the information on disability support services. I know a lot of times individuals are interested in or may need some services and they don't feel comfortable. I do have myself a question. What about individuals that maybe need assistance from disability and they already started their classes?
Oh, we get that a lot, folks. Yes, you can you can request accommodations at any time in your college endeavors, anytime. We have had some students that may not want to identify. They would like to just navigate things on their own, and that's okay too. But at some point, they have found challenges during the semester and would come in, fill out they would request accommodations, bring in their documentation or upload it. And the coordinators are really work very fast and efficiently to get that applied pretty quickly. So we have had some come in, some students panicking right before finals. I need accommodations. I didn't think I would need them through the semester. And there have been times where we have gotten those accommodations in place before their finals. So request them at any time, folks.
And then for individuals that are already used to using your services and maybe going to see you just because they feel like that's something important to them and they can't see you all now because of the whole COVID-19 situation, um, how how can they truly feel like they're still connected with you? How can they still communicate with you and make sure that they're, know that they're still getting the same services and they can still have the same kind of information that they're used to?
Oh, that is such a good one. I know. I love being on campus because we can be more personal with the students. And I know it's just temporary that it will be virtual, but we still want to be personal. Um, we respond to emails regularly, and there are some days where we're in office that we would be more than happy to contact the student. We're also accommodating, and I would be happy to be up on screen with the student, doing FaceTime, help them walk through things with their computer. We are willing to think outside the box right now to connect with students. So please don't think that no one's here to answer or respond. Email, communicate, and we will communicate back with you. And oftentimes, because now virtually, there's a lot more one-on-one, surprisingly. So we can work with students one-on-one as far as walking them through some process. Email, when they email and we communicate, and then we can see what will work for them. Where are they located? Can they call in? Can they do screen sharing? And we'll troubleshoot like that.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for all the great information. I hope that students that have either used your services before or that are considering using your services will feel a little bit better now and understand what's expected or how they can get a hold of someone, and that your office is available to them, and hopefully they'll feel more comfortable self-disclosing that they need some assistance, and so that we can do the best that we
So
can to make them successful in their academic endeavors. So thank you very much, Stephanie, for everything. I really, really appreciate the time and effort that you have put into this so that people can get this information. All right, everybody, we'll be seeing you again soon in the CTC Live with Disability
Mariceli,
Support Services. Yes.
Mariceli, I just want to say one more thing.
Yes.
Folks, no question is too small or too unimportant. Email, even if it's one sentence, even if it's where is the button to submit this, email it. No question is too silly or too short or too small. Give us the opportunity to help.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Stephanie. We'll be live again tomorrow, and we will see you guys. We will be seeing you tomorrow. We should be able to talk to the police academy. And if you have any questions with regards to that, please tune in tomorrow at 10. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.